All right, you guys. So the oil tonight is Tranquil. If you guys got it, it's a roll-on. Grab it, or you can grab any oil that's next to you, and we're gonna have you smell it. And the reason why we picked Tranquil for tonight, because it has lavender, cedarwood, and Roman chamomile, and it's going to help you sleep and relax, and it's gonna help. What I love from the EDR book, it says all three of these oils have been well documented as being effective in reducing restlessness, decreasing occasional anxiety, and inducing a calming feeling to the mind and body. So put your oil on. Look at you guys. You guys all look so cute. All right, Mom, you're on.
Well, Kortni, you wanted to say something about going back to school. So we were going to kind of start with that one.
So right now, school has started here in Arizona, and I don't know where all you guys are, but we're all in that month of August and September, and a lot of us are doing online. And we actually will be going next week. Both of our babies will be starting in school. And what I wanted to say is right now, purification and thieves are the two oils that you want to put on the bottom of the feet before you leave that house. And then brain power, tranquil, lavender are all genius, are all great oils to be putting on the back of the ears and on the head. Like with Duke and Ellie, I'll just drip those oils right on their head and rub it. So those are all great oils for you guys, for them to be going to school. And purification in thieves is going to help keep their immune system up and make them happy. Cherie, do you have anything to add?
I would add Raven or Ravensara and Manuka.
Why Manuka?
Well, because you know that sometimes things fly around the planet and they just keep flying around the planet, and they just don't want to land and like go to somewhere else. So Manuka would be probably my main go-to oil for handling what's flying around that you don't really want to land on you.
Perfect.
I would just like to share too. So we have a chat box. So a chat box would be great if you got any questions or whatever. Remember that we are going to be as compliant as we can in this class tonight. So we cannot diagnose or prescribe. And Bob Stevens is going to share with us about the language and how that ties into everything here. And we're in a very interesting time on the planet right now with COVID still happening. A lot of the areas of the country right now are going through all kinds of turmoil. And I would just like to share that, remember in life, it's what we focus on, what we put our attention on is what really comes up into our life, and then the meaning that we give it. So this can be the greatest opportunity for all of us right now to take this time to take care of yourself, to literally maintain and stay above the line in your immune system, and to really look after you and your family. And Bob, I had a conversation with you a little bit earlier, and I'd love for you to share about some of the language and emotions of what's happening right now. Can you share that with us, please? What happened to Bob?
All right, there we go. Can you hear
Okay.
me? Yes. Hi, everybody. And well, that'll be it. No, just kidding. So, Vonn, we had a great talk today. Vonn and I have very spirited conversations that get all like charged up. So it's really cool that we also get to be with some of you tonight. So far, 284, and I vote victory. So one of my requests is, every class I'm in, is that we vote each other's victory. The way I do it, you do it your way, is that I say for myself first, as I am my own permanent victory in the light. I invite you to do that. And then let's charge each other with, I am our permanent victory in the light. And then let's charge our country, our nations, our family, our communities with permanent victory of light. And so I know tonight is going to be about sleep or rest. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit different way. And for right now, every thought counts. And so jump in anytime, Vonn, anyone, our whole team really. But the point is, right now, our greatest weakness, these are scripture, but not, and I'm not approaching it like religion. I'm talking about law. And so please forgive me, and I just found such great law here. Our greatest weakness shall be our greatest strength. That's one. So if we can take a look at something from outside is influenzaing us, is a wake-up call for all of us to be sovereign. And so for me, every one of these essential oils that Gary and many have designed help me speed up my frequency to be sovereign, to be invisible, invincible, and invulnerable to all that would take me down. That's the point of the essential oils. So every word counts. Decree a thing and it shall be established unto you. By your words, you shall be, me too, we shall be justified, and by our words we shall be condemned. So this is the perfect time to have what we're doing tonight. And it's a perfect time to partner with essential oils and Young Living Seed to Seal essential oils and agree with their victory. In other words, if we're going to use something, let's use it not to get rid of something. Let's use it to become, strengthen, move into, have, enjoy, and thrive in something. So that's my invitation for our start tonight. And by voting victory, really, really right now, just imagine permanent victory of light your way, make sure it fits your belief. But for every one of us on our 318 of us now, imagine permanent victory of light, and imagine everyone in your family, your loved ones, your organization, all in Young Living, everyone on the planet, every nation, every government. Imagine permanent victory of light. When we have a certain level of light, the illusion cannot exist. I mean, like a virus doesn't exist in the presence of light, sunlight, and oxygen. We know that. So let's reoxygenate ourselves. Let's really, really be about, all right, fear, no, faith. So I shared with Vonn today that the whole thing that's going on is for all of us to claim and walk in trust and faith and courage and security and assuredness and confidence. All in favor, please say yes. Raise your hand. Cool. There you go, Vonn.
Yes, and I love it because tonight, in the time that we have, Cherie and I are definitely going to go into stories that Gary has taught us. That's the one thing that's very important for us, that we pass on the legacy of Gary Young. And Cherie and I have been around for quite a while, and so we do have some stories to tell about the formulation of products and why products. And remember that Gary Young was such a genius in the magnificence of this man that when he named an oil, he named it with the intention of that oil. So just like Kortni starting this whole presentation tonight with the oil Tranquil, it's to literally, just be gentle on yourself, soften up. And it's the thing that I learned from Bob, and basically I'm just going to share that he reminded me that I already knew this. And what I want to share with you is you all know all this information, but we're going to remind you today of the information that you can bring back into your life and to integrate this into your life. So tonight we're going to talk about some sleep products that Young Living created. And I'm going to share with you, sleep is a big, big deal. It's a really big deal right now on this planet. When you look at the environment, when you look at nutrition and you look at sleep, there are some very educated, very prominent mentors in the world today that would say sleep is the most important. I'm going to tell you, this is your downtime. This is the time that your body can regenerate. This is the time that I believe personally that I can connect back with spirit, connect back with God. I believe that I'm always connected, but this is the time that it's like, it's just what happens in the human body. And we are regulated by the sun on this planet. I mean, we are light beings. And, Gary always told me that the essential oils are light in a bottle. I mean, true essences of light in a bottle. So this is just in alignment with that. But I'm going to start the class. I'm going to let Cherie talk a little bit more about some of the products tonight. I'm going to start the class with talking about circadian rhythms and talking about how that's our body's natural rhythm. We have a clock on all the organs of the body and how we're in alignment to this 24-hour segment of the sun and the moon. And it doesn't matter where you are on this planet. It doesn't matter what sex you are, what race you are, what culture you are, you all are governed by the circadian rhythms of the body. And when we come into alignment with our circadian rhythms, then I believe that we experience a thing called synchronicity. And synchronicity is what, I think it was Wayne Dyer that said synchronicity is when God is just showing you that you're right where you need to be. And I wrote a book on this. It was the first book I wrote, which is Yes, No, Maybe, Chronobiotic Nutrition, which is time and biology, time, life. And Kortni can put my website into the chat link and you can order that book, but it is basically all on the circadian rhythms, all on eating in time, and then the oils in time, which I'm going to share with you, no one has ever done before. And Kurt Snellbelt, who is one of the top aromatherapists in the world, who Gary Young has brought in many, many times to speak with Young Living, he wrote the preface to my book. And Kurt said to me, he said, Marcella, I think you are before your time. I think that people really haven't gotten that everything is timing. And when you look at your life, what's the difference between success and failure? Sometimes it's just timing. Sometimes if you just keep doing the same thing you're doing, boom, we have success. So it's like, for me, there is really no failure. It's like, what am I doing? And what is the learning? And when you know you're on the right track, when you know you're in alignment, you just keep doing what you're doing. And then the world shows you that you have success with that. So we are governed by this thing called circadian rhythms. And consider the options of the playing field of the planet, that the hours of light you are exposed to control actual genetic on and off switches, enzyme activity, and most important, the growth of 4 pounds of symbiotic bacteria that live in your gut. And this symbiotic bacteria is the guys that, these guys are the keys to life and death and a dress size. So I'm going to share with you that when the light bulb got invented, when we, as a caveman, when we created fire, is where we started to actually mess up the hormonal balance of the body. And especially when we created the light bulb. Today, when you're watching the night show on TV or the late night news, or you've got your iPad on or your iPhone, or even if you got your phone by your bed, that is all affecting our bodies and our circadian rhythms. Light is making a difference. What we've discovered is that red light is okay, but blue light is actually affecting the hormones of our body. And what are hormones? Hormones are basically just messengers in the body. So I'm just going to share the big picture of how this has affected us. It's affected us more in our body with all of us being above the line. So right now, through the science and the studies of today, and you can Google up sleep, you can see there's books written on it, research, all kinds of things, but they're finding that a human being today between 7 and 9 hours sleep, somewhere in that time, is most beneficial. And when people over a period of years and time are lacking that sleep, guess what? We start to go below the line from all kinds of things that compliantly I'm not going to talk about, but I'm going to tell you, you're sinking down below the line on every one of them. But what I'm going to share with you in my studies, I have found that if even somebody only gets 6 hours of sleep, but if they can get an hour and a half of deep sleep and REM sleep, they're going to be healthier in the long run. That when you break down sleep, that's the idea. And REM sleep is about every 90 minutes we go into REM sleep. We come up and we go down. But your deep sleep is where your body is regenerating. And one of the greatest mentors that I had the opportunity to work with in my lifetime was Bernard Jensen. And Gary Young brought Bernard Jensen into Young Living to teach, because Bernard Jensen was one of Gary's teachers also. And I remember one of the things that Bernard Jensen always said, and the man has written over 100 books on nutrition. He always said that every hour before midnight is worth 2 after midnight. So it's like, think about that. And for most people, we're getting later and later and later and later into sleeping. So Young Living has created a number of phenomenal products to support us in slowing down the brain, in slowing down our body, and bringing our hormones back into balance for melatonin and prolactin, and then the insulin. But I'm going to share with you the one thing in all of my studies with sleep that I found: the more light that you are exposed to, the heavier you will be weight-wise, which is interesting because we have a society today that is putting on more and more weight. And you look at, okay, you can go back to corn syrup and you can go back to all of these things. And Gary used to talk about all these things. But the truth of it is, we're actually messing up the homeostatic, the balance, the homeostasis of our body. And what happens is, on the regular cycle of the planet, when we go into the summer months, and we're in the summer months right now, so guess what? Our days are longer. So when your days are longer, you're actually getting more light, right? So what happens is, we tend to eat more carbohydrates in the summer than we do the rest of the time. And then our body is eating more carbohydrates, because guess what? Our body on a cellular level knows that what comes after the summer? Fall and the winter. And fall and the winter, we hibernate. We don't have the access of food that we do in the spring and the summer. So I don't care where you are on the planet, being a human being on this planet, we are still tied into the cyclical balances of this planet. And I love this because Gary Young, you know, he always brought us back to the oils. He always brought us back to the plants. And in the summer and in the spring, we have more plants. We have more availability of food than we do in the winter. Well, on a cellular level, our body knows that. So at the beginning of sleep, you dream a little while you cool down as melatonin rises. You dream again during the pre-dawn hours before you wake up as melatonin falls and you warm up. Mammals in cold climates sleep for months at a time or hibernate to slow metabolic processes during food scarcity and darker days, cooling us down in the dark. Melatonin does antioxidants work. So this has a play with the insulin secretion. It's controlled by the food you eat, but the food that you want is controlled by your immune system, responding to perceived seasonal vibrations of light. So that means that get up with the sun, sleep with the moon, eat only your share, and be fruitful and multiply. That's really what it comes down to, you know. That's what we're built for, no more, no less. Evolution has fine-tuned you for just enjoying life on this planet. And I love the fact that that we can tie into this. And if you're having challenges, a lot of people can't close their brain down. And so Gary's got some oils that do that. And so I think tonight we're going to talk about some supplements. We're going to talk about Emu Power, Sleep Essence. We're going to talk about the CBD. We'll talk about Lavender, Vetiver, Valerian, Peace and Calming, Chamomile, sweet orange. There's so many oils. And yet Cherie and I even talked earlier today, and the thing that we know is like Peace and Calming can be very calming for one person and yet can make another person a little bit more hyper. So again, I'm going to share with you, I'm talking to you tonight. Cherie Ross is talking to you tonight. Bob Stevens and even Kortni or my son Dallas may come on. We're going to tell you what worked for us. And what works for us may not work for you. This is our personal story. So in talking about this and all the products with Young Living, you have to take responsibility for your own physical body. Just because I have all kinds of books and all kinds of resources that tell me that lavender should be very calming, and yet I could put lavender on my feet and not be calm at all. So you're going to have to play and find out what that's going to do for you. You have to take responsibility for your health. And Gary built this whole company, and Mary still spreads the word today that this whole company comes down to you taking responsibility for yourself and your family and who you are and how these products are going to work for you. So Cherie, do you want to add anything to what I've just shared so far?
I think it is very much needed to hear this information because sleep is so important, and so many people have electronics, okay, in their bedrooms, So many people have big screen TVs in their bedroom. So many people have computers. So many people use this right next to their head as their alarm clock. Oh my gosh. Or not this though, because this doesn't have the alarm clock, but and so that's one of the biggest things, is really honoring what you're talking about, is honoring who we are, and really supporting our bodies in what works, and then really minimizing what doesn't work for us. And that's exactly what you spoke about. So thank you. Perfect.
You're welcome. So one thing I want to share with you is when you leave the lights on, you eat more sugar. And sugar is carbohydrates. Do you know that the scientific name for sugar is carbohydrate?
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to realize of how this is playing. Your hormones respond appropriately to your carbohydrates that you consume, and eventually affects your DNA in every cell in your body. So again, you know, the one thing that I know, and like every time I'm with Mary and Mary has an opportunity to talk to people, the first thing she's going to tell you is clean up your diet. You know, clean up your diet, cut down that sugar. I'm not telling you we can't live without sugar. We definitely need glucose in our body. But I'm telling you, the processed sugars are literally taking us below ground. So again, it's a wake-up call to looking at everything that you're doing. Prolactin is a survival hormone, and most of us would assume prolactin only makes human milk, but it does. But it's an important role to keep us surviving throughout our lives and controlling our appetites. And so again, insulin, most people today are becoming insulin resistant, and it all has to do with what we're putting into our body. But what I'm going to share with you, if you go back to the root cause, like I in my practice, I always look at root causes, and light is a root cause of how we're getting out of balance in our life today. So with that, Cherie, why don't we just step into, Bob, do you have anything you want to say to what I've said so far about circadian rhythms or?
Well, yes, just real quick. In the last couple years, I go to bed with the sun and I wake up with the sun. And I really believe it's because I finally figured out just love. And it just automatically took me to a place of, oh, I'm getting a little tired, and then the sun's going down. Oh, I'm going to go. And it's not really sleep. I don't sleep anymore. I'm lucid all night long. I'm aware while I'm sleeping, but I'm lucid. And I get up as soon as the daybreak happens. I'm, oh, hello, how are you doing? So I really believe, I'm just going to add, if everyone would just start loving for no reason, that may be a great help. And then at some point I'll share some of the oils that I love. So that's it.
Okay, that's great. So I was going to say, so going to sleep with the sunset means a whole body melatonin bath and a sharp increase in prolactin. So Gary Young was definitely a man that went to bed with the sun because he was a farmer, you know, and it was amazing because he really stayed in the rhythm of his body. So tonight I want to share with you, there's 3 factors that are going to make a major big difference in your sleep. And that is sound. Sounds affect our sleep big time. So whether you're sleeping with some type of white noise or what type of sounds you're listening to at night affect your sleep. And they've done some interesting studies and found that people that had sounds around them that they weren't conscious of, when they plugged them up on monitors, those sounds literally affected their sleep. And then light affects your sleep. So you should be sleeping in total darkness. I have news for all of you that sleep with night lights. Night lights are not good for us. We need to be in total darkness to sleep so that we produce melatonin. And then the temperature. We've discovered that if you sleep around 68 degrees, a little bit cooler at night, you'll actually sleep better. So sound, light, and temperature are going to have a major effect. And I came across a study just recently in Europe. This is an interesting fact. 43% of Americans feel guilty because they'd rather sleep alone than are sleeping with somebody. Now that's amazing because this is stuff you don't talk about. But and because when we get married, we usually then sleep with somebody. But the truth of it is, sleeping with somebody disturbs your sleep. more than anything else. And so in Europe, one of the things they've created is when two people sleep together, they usually have their own blankets. They have two blankets on the bed, and a lot of in Europe, they have rooms where like you have a big king size bed, but they have two different comforters on the bed. They find that people actually sleep better with that. And even better is to sleep alone. They find that you actually sleep better alone, not with your pet, not with someone else. And I'm not talking about sex and all that kind of stuff that we're not going to go into because of compliancy, but I'm talking about just sleeping alone, that actually people do sleep better alone. The hours of light you're exposed to control your actual genetic on and off switches. So I just want you to think about that. And when you leave the lights on, you eat more sugar. So just think about that in the course of what we're doing. Now, one of the things that I've done, and I don't sell this, it's not a company I'm not affiliated with, but I wear this little thing called an Aura ring. And I got an Aura ring, and a lot of people have the Apple Watches and the smart watches, and they can monitor your sleep now. And when I started to monitor my sleep, it actually changed my life. I can actually see how much REM sleep I'm getting, how much deep sleep I'm getting, if I'm restless through the night. So there's all kinds of devices out there that you can actually get now that help with that. What else did I want to share before we jumped into the oils? I'll just leave it with that right now. So we'll go into that. So Cherie, what's the first supplement that we'd like to talk about tonight?
Well, so we're going to do supplements for oils. Okay, let's rock and roll. So there's quite a few actually.
Well, you know why I'd love to do supplements first? Because all of our supplements contain an oil. So we can talk about what oil they contain, and then we can bring in the oil that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So let's go to, well, there's multiple ones. So let's talk about going to sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep. Let's talk about what we do during the day that helps us sleep better at night, things like that. And so get ready to write because we're going to rock and roll. Okay. So let's talk about Ningxia Red. Right off the bat, Ningxia Red. There are so many reports of people taking Ningxia Red when they consume it during the day. They have much more restful sleep at night. Their brain quiets down at night, and they're able to be more alert during the day. And I know, Vonn, you've got some input about this too. So I'm going to let you say that, and then we'll go on to the next supplement.
Well, Ningxia Red, so you got to realize that we're living in a world today where sleep's going to come down to quantity and quality. Like that's the two major factors of it. And if we're exposed to so much light today, we're exposed to so many toxins in the world today, the burden is going to be on your liver. And if your liver is burdened, then your whole body is burdened. And so Ningxia Red is going to be one of the greatest products to start to support the liver. And Gary had this private club called the Happy Liver Lovers Club. And to join that club was to drink anywhere from 2 to 6 ounces of Ningxia Red a day. And you would be a member of the Happy Liver Lovers Club. And I find that this is one of the greatest products that we can take in timing. I wrote a book on timing with food, and the Ningxia plant is a bush tree. It's a bush type plant that they grow as a tree. So I personally have found that the best time to take this product is in the morning to early afternoon. So you've heard me talk about 8, 10, and 2, drink 2 ounces at 8 o'clock in the morning, 2 ounces at 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 ounces at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't actually support drinking Ningxia Red in the evening. Now it's so low on the glycemic index that it doesn't take any, it actually doesn't take your body any energy to consume that food. It actually gives your body energy. So some people are so sensitive that they take Ningxia Red at night, and it actually will keep them up. So, but in the morning is the best time to take that food. I personally don't drink Ningxia Red after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it is, there's 32 scientific reasons to drink Ningxia Red. And I'm going to tell you, sleep is like one of the number ones on that list, because your body is getting a high amount of nutrient, dense nutrition on a cellular level. So when it comes down to, when you think about the world today and you think about light affecting our insulin resistance and eating more, and then we're getting heavier and heavier, and the root cause could be that we're exposed to too much light. Ningxia Red is a high density food that you don't need a lot of, and yet your body's getting what it needs on a cellular level. So for me, it's like it's easy for me to connect the dots. This is an easy food for me to consume. It's liquid, it tastes wonderful. So it's really easy for my body to utilize and to assimilate.
Yes, and one of the things that for some people, like our nurses, our medical staff, some truck drivers, people who literally their whole body, because of their career choice or because of their job, they have to be up at night. It's one where you kind of go outside of that 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that is one of the best things that you can literally have at night. If you are a person who has to be up all night to support your body and not stress your adrenals out, is Ningxia Red. If you need to do nitro, multi-greens, you know, and if you like carbonation, zing. But truly, the outside of that 8 to 2 window would be for people who do work night shifts. And if you're one of those people and you really want to support your body rather than overstimulate it with stimulants that will just trash your endocrine system, that's when you do your Ningxia Red. That's when you do your Super B, your nitro, your multi-greens. Okay, that will support your body so that then when it is your time to sleep, you'll be able to go right into a restful sleep, because you'll be totally counter to what our earth has. So that's just, that would be an outside of those parameters. So that's Ningxia Red. Now, another thing is the endocrine system. Supporting the endocrine system is key, okay? And Vonn already mentioned liver, but I'm going to circle back to that. So endocrine system is key. So what supports the endocrine system? Mineral essence supports every aspect of our body. Our electrical, definitely our electrical cardiovascular, definitely the endocrine system. As much as people do not like the taste of it, although unless you're Ed Geiger, and I know he's on here, Ed loves the taste of it. He's a little goofy, I think. Mineral essence is one of the best things you can do for yourself, again, during the day. And if you're one of those people whose like legs keep you up at night when you're sleeping, have a little bit of mineral essence at night before bed too. And I think you'll notice a nice, be able to downshift as well. So that's another one. Super B during the day is another really huge piece for that. Another wonderful thing then is Thyromin. Now, Gary talked about Thyromin, but here's Thyromin's a little tricky. Again, we're supporting endocrine organs now, endocrine system. Gary said he created Thyromin really to help with so much radiation exposure, a number of things. Endocrine system disruptors, endocrine system balance and harmony. So if you're going to take Thyromin at night to support your endocrine system, you literally have to have it on your bedstand. You literally take your capsule, the light goes out, your head is on the pillow, that's it. You don't read, you don't have TV on, you don't do anything, because it will have the counter effect. And if you can't do that, don't take it at night. Otherwise, then you would take it in the morning or midday, depending upon your own body's, what's going on with your own body's endocrine system. So Thyromin, it's very specific. If you cannot go outside those parameters, or your body will go wah, like that. Another really wonderful one that we're gonna move into another endocrine system is, let's go to Sleep Essence, Cortisol. So I'm going to touch on it, and we're going to come back to Sleep Essence.
Yeah, Cherie, touch on it, and then I want you to come back to mineral essence. I want to see if Bob would like to share anything about minerals.
Oh, go ahead. We'll do it now.
Yeah, Bob has done a lot of work, and he knows what minerals can do for the body, and our body is electrical. So
Yes.
you know that when I went to school for nutrition, they taught me that everything comes down to a mineral or vitamin deficiency. And I believe this is one of the sleeper products in the company, that people don't realize how important minerals are for the body, that most things that are happening to us are not vitamin deficiencies today, they're mineral deficiencies. And we don't need a lot of them. I mean, Young Living's mineral essence is 62 ionic trace minerals. And it's just the essences of this that can literally keep the battery running. So Bob, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. Yes, please. So first of all, and Vonn has some stories that you could share about getting ready for body electronics and being, in a way, the best ever. And we did it with minerals. We did it with a chelated colloidal mineral, very similar to what's in Mineral Essence. So what I've learned about, first, what rules over all other nutrients are enzymes. After enzymes are minerals. So if everybody can go, why do the essential oils work? Well, because they've got life in them, and life is always going to be some building block. And mineral essence and basically the trace elements, I'm going to call them for now. Imagine like there's lithium, there's all kinds of wonderful things in there. So when our body needs something with the trace elements, it can pick it out because it's in there as a building block. So for me, enzymes, well, that's, live foods, living foods, not just raw foods, and then highly mineralized food. Like right now in the plant kingdom, what's growing on our earth right now is frequently potash, nitrogen, and whatever else, and like a watermelon. Cherie Reams, I remember, had a watermelon on his desk, an organic, wonderful watermelon. He let it dry. It stayed there for 1 year. And today, if we take a watermelon in a very short period of time, it's going to rot. And, again, how many have had a watermelon that didn't taste very good? It's kind of watery. That means it was grown quickly with just a few building blocks, not with highly mineralized soil, etc. So everyone, if you can go, all right, what's the most important enzymes? Second most important, minerals. Why do we love essential oils? And taking them internally as well, because there's lots and lots of building blocks in there we require that are personality based for our body. So for me, and every person I work with over 50 years now, I always make sure enzymes first and then minerals second, and then whatever else, macro minerals like more mag than cal, potassium, whatever else it is. But again, if everyone can go, ooh, am I really doing mineral essence? Jump in, do it. And again, if we don't like the taste, usually that's because we need it terribly. So that's what I have to share about.
Thank you, Bob. So one thing I wanted to share, back in the mid-90s, when I was a trainer for the company, where I actually went out and I was teaching classes on supplements and oils all over the country. I was actually a designated trainer for the company. Gary had the clinic in Utah at the time. Yes, in Springville. And Peter Minke was working for Young Living at the time in that clinic. And Gary called me up and asked Jim and I to come in to do our blood. And so I it's not every day that Gary Young calls me. He, the course of my life with this man, I talk to Mary quite a bit because she's my enroller and sponsor. But every now and then Gary would call me and I'd always go, who is this? I even hung up on him one time because I couldn't believe he was calling me, But he called me and asked for Jim and I to come in. And he was going to be in the clinic and he wanted to test our blood. And I'm thinking, my God, I give everything I have to this company. Now I got to give my blood. So we flew in, and at the time I was getting ready to go do a seminar with Bob on body electronics. And so I was taking lots of minerals. And when I went in to do my blood work, Gary tested my blood work. And I have a picture of it today. And Gary said that my blood work at the time was the best blood work he'd ever seen in his life. And he was proud that I was a representative of him in Young Living. And I believe a lot of that had to do with minerals. So I was at a time of really loading my body up with minerals to get ready for the class that I was going to do with Bob. That was part of it. And I'm just going to share with you, I think over the course of our life, we get deficient in all of these things, and we just think that that's life. When you walk into a room and you don't remember why you walked in the room, when you can't find your car keys, when you get up and all of a sudden you got aches and things are happening in your body. And I think that we just don't realize that a lot of this is from the deficiencies of the everyday life of the food that we're eating today, and it's devoid of the nutrients that we need. So again, Ninja Red is so high in the nutrient density, but your mineral essence is, I'm going to tell you, it's got to be on that auto ship every month. This is something that you need to be taking on a monthly, daily basis. And I believe that the best time, so through my book, Yes, No, Maybe, Chronobiotic Nutrition, I've looked at timing. And I find that the best time to take this mineral is late afternoon before evening. Late afternoon, evening is going to be the best time to take those minerals for the body. And that's related through Chinese medicine and the meridians. So if you're interested in the timing, you can go to my book, and Kortni can put that on the website, just my website. You can get the book, Yes, No, Maybe. Okay, so thank you, Bob. Okay, Cherie, you want to go back? So that's a phenomenal product.
So yours truly, there's pretty much one oil that I have a strong sensitivity to, cinnamon bark. I just the way it is. Guess what's in this? Cinnamon bark. And it's just, so this is Cherie LaMarche, because whenever we've had Farm Week, I make everybody every day. I literally, they don't get to even eat until we do mineral essence. And we do mineral essence every day, and they line up and we do it because it's that important. So we have like 30 some people getting mineral essence. So Cherie LaMarche has me put it way back and she just swallows it down. There's no taste buds back there. The last thing you want to do, see, all the taste buds are here. All the way around the edges. You don't want to put it there on your tongue, because then it'll be like, whoa, unless you love cinnamon bark. So let me show you quick, because we've had a number of people in the chat while you both were talking. How do you take this stuff? People gave some ideas. Let me show you how I take it, because it is very strong. So my body literally craves 5 to 6 droppers full. That's what my body, for me, feels good. So I happen to be blessed with a large orifice right here. And I open my mouth up, and I roll my tongue back. And I put it right there. So you're gonna watch me do it right now, okay? Now remember, the one oil that my whole body goes like this to is cinnamon bark. It's in here. So here we go. And I'm just gonna show y'all how to do this.
Cherie, are you serious?
No, Cherie's doing it with the dropper, and when my kids were little, I just took the dropper out the bottle and I just poured a teaspoon in, and I added it to applesauce when the kids were little because of the taste of it.
The cinnamon. Yeah, done. You didn't see me cringe. You didn't see me anything. Done. And I just have a little bit of tea here. That's it. Y'all done.
Cherie, I've known people to also rub it on the bottom of their feet.
Oh, so, and sunburn. Sidebar. One of the best things to cool sunburn. Just put it on topically. Just one of those fun things. So that's how you do it. Simple as that. Okay, so thank you so much. This is a little fun fact about mineral essence. All right. So let's go to, I know that Vonn's we've got things to say about CBD. We'll talk about falling asleep. Maybe before that, let's go to this. I also had written down enzymes and, of course, Juvatone and Juvapower and Juvaflex. Gary always said detoxime at bedtime is your best enzyme to take at bedtime. Detoxime, detoxime, detoxime. And so those of you who watched Vonn's training at convention, you saw that woman take a handful of enzymes and chug them down. And our last enzyme training she did with us, you saw her take a handful of enzymes and chug them down. And so detoxime. And since then, I want to let everybody know, if you haven't done that, okay, I've had multiple reports of people who've been on our Zoom say, you know what, I watched Vonn do that, I did it, and holy smokes, does that make a difference? It really makes a difference. And for me, I'm an 8 to 10 easily at bedtime, easily of detoxime, easily, just bam. And so detoxime at night, follow Gary's rule. The other thing is I do my Juvatone. I do that at night as well. There was a while I had to do it 4 times a day because of some health things, but now I do it at night. And I know that my whole body just shifts gears. I sleep more rested and I wake up better. Again, those Juva products, okay? And so that's a really powerful thing to do at night, the Juvatone. So that's our enzymes and that's our liver support. Okay, we can push that aside. Now let's go to, I want to go to sleep essence, and I'd like to go to the CBD, because this is all about supplementation. And CBD right now, because of some labeling laws changed, it literally says on the label for topical use. However, there is stevia in it. And so before, was it before 2019, we could label it for internal use as well, but then some things shifted with the labeling laws in 2019. And so Sleep Essence, it has our melatonin in it. It has our wonderful oils in it that help us to downshift. Recommended to take no less than 30 minutes before bedtime. 45 to 60 minutes is often better. And I can speak that when my mom was going through some very high stress times, she had to take a minimum of 4 Sleep Essence for her to be able to downshift into that neutral place in her brain. And so definitely what's on the label is a suggested use. It is not what everyone needs. You have to go by what you need. So Vonn, you want to talk a little bit about that CBD?
Well, the sleep essence, you got to realize these are essential oils, but they're in a capsule, a soft gel capsule. So again, this is something that Young Living is leading the world in, is taking oils internally. You guys got to get that none of these other companies could ever even tell people to take an oil internally. They've copied Young Living, and Young Living is the only company out there in the world today that's got a whole line of oils called Vitality oils that are labeled and legal to take internally. So it's like you got to know the source. Again, this is seed to seal, and this is why Young Living is so important. You've got to be taking an organic. You've got to be taking a pure product if you're going to take it internally. And your sleep essence is, it's got lavender in it, vetiver, valerian, mandarin, and rue. And the thing that I want to share with you is you can find a bunch of different oils that make a difference, but the combination sometimes is the thing that takes it right to the enhancement. And the thing that I love about oils, and the thing that Gary and I used to have conversations about, is how oils always enhance everything. They speed up everything. Like everything that I've ever done in my life, from nutrition to modalities, if I've added oils to this, and Bob, you may want to talk a little bit on what I'm saying. If I've added oils to this, I saw that I had better results. So one of the things a number of years ago, when I was, I've just been in school my whole life and continuously in school learning and then teaching the things that I learned. And I had an opportunity to go learn from Dr. LaPraz. Now, there are less than 10 true aromatherapists in the world today, less than 10. I can count them on both hands, of true aromatherapists. I mean, where the real name comes in, because most people today are taking a certification course and calling themselves an aromatherapist, and that's not an aromatherapist. And we have no licensing in the United States for an aromatherapist at this point. But most of the true aromatherapists in the world today were medical doctors, believe it or not. We go back to Dr. Francombe and Dr. LaPraz, and I mean, I can go down the list. And even Kurt Snellbaum was a PhD. He was a chemist. So it's like they all had a doctorate. And I had an opportunity to learn from Dr. LaPraz, and I went to Pocatello, Idaho, to take classes from him. And most everybody there were doctors. And the thing I love about the French teach you that your whole body is the terrain. And when you would go in to an appointment with them, the appointment would be a minimum of 3 hours, literally 3 hours minimum. And they would strip you down to your underwear, and they'd look at your skin. They'd look at your skin, the color of your face. They would actually take your fingernails and draw a line up the back of your back. Just run your fingernails up your arm like this and look down and see if you have a line on your arm from your fingernails. Well, we would do that on someone's back, and if we had a line on their back, we knew that they had a high histamine level in their body. And then we could do blood work to match that. But I love the French doctors because they didn't need electricity to have an appointment with you. You ever gone to a doctor today that can't look at you? It's like they have to have some machine or do something to pull up a chair, babe. So this whole appointment would be about then how's your relationships, how's your life? Like this would be the whole appointment of your terrain, what's going on in your life, to figure out what's going on in your physical body. And he shared with me one day, we went after the lecture and we went to dinner after, and I actually after dinner I ordered a cappuccino. This is many, many years ago. I wouldn't be drinking a cappuccino anymore at night now, but back then I could drink a cappuccino and go right to bed. Well, actually, after being in a conference with Dr. LaPraz all day, I could go right to bed anyways because I was so exhausted because his French was so heavy. It took everything I had in concentration to understand him. But anyways, that night he ordered a cappuccino today and he said, Marcella, you're such a great student. I want to give you something. And he asked me where I was practicing. And I said, at the time, I didn't have my PhD. I wasn't even a doctor. And I said, please keep this information for all of us. Because if you give it to doctors, then we'll never get it today. And he says, well, I'd like to do something for you. You have so much energy. And I said, yeah, they called me Turbo as a child. You know, I'm like the ADD adult today. You know, I've got a lot of energy, right? And people that know me, Cherie and Bob, you're laughing because I got a lot of energy and I run circles around people, right? So Dr. LaPraz says, I want to give you a gift. I'm going to tell you something to do that will change your life forever. And I said, do I need to write this down? And he said, no. Very, very simple. And this is the thing I'm going to share with you. When something is so simple, there's usually truth in it. When something gets complicated in life, there's usually somebody's ego or there's falseness in it. Think about that. So the simpler it is, the more truth that's in it. And Dr. LaPraz said to me, I would like you to do one thing. And this one thing, it may take you 6 months, it may take you a year, but if we do blood work on you right now, and after you do this consistently for this amount of time, in 1 year's time, 6 months to a year, we can do blood work and it will change your whole endocrine system. And I said, okay, I'm ready. What is it? And he said, I want you to take Lavandula augustifolia, which is Young Living's lavender. Not all the lavenders out there on the market are Lavandula augustifolia. Most of them are lavandin, and 98% of the lavender brought into the United States is adulterated. So I'm talking about the real Lavandula augustifolia, the plant, okay? That we go back to Dr. Grafasi, we go back to the history of aromatherapy was all about Lavandula augustifolia. Okay, so he said, I want you to take Lavandula augustifolia. I want you to put it on the bottom of your big toes every night. So bottom of this big toe, bottom of this big toe, and roll it on your feet. Last thing you do when you get in bed. So I put a bottle of that on my side of the bed. My husband put one on his side of the bed, and we started to do that. In about 4 months' time, if I would have any type of stimulated drink, let's say even the Zing is a caffeinated drink. If I would have any of that sometime after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it would affect my sleep. And Dr. LaPraz said, we will reset your whole endocrine system and we will take you out of fight or flight and we will reset your adrenals. Now today, the way that we are running from fight or flight, see, when we're getting so much light all the time, we're running as if there's a big tiger coming behind us all the time. And we're eating lots more with more light. So we're messing up that whole hormonal cycle and we're running on our adrenals. And Dr. LaPraz says when you run on your adrenals, you age yourself internally. So this is the greatest way to bring longevity and youth back into your life. So I started to put Lavandula augustifolia on my feet every night, Young Livings. And within 4 months, it changed my life. And to this day, I cannot drink a stimulated drink in the afternoon, late afternoon, without it affecting my sleep. So again, that's Lavandula augustifolia. Well, Lavandula augustifolia is in Sleep Essence. So now you're taking that internally through that product.
Yes, very powerful.
Okay, so Cherie, does Bob want to say something to what I was talking about, just how oils expand or speed up things?
Yes, thank you. And first of all, that what you said about the big toe. So the big toe in like reflexology or body electronics or whatever, it has pineal, hypothalamus, pituitary in the big toe. So fight or flight is reptilian brain, brainstem, medulla brainstem, and below. Fight or flight, gotta, have to, must, gotta, have to. I believe fight or flight happened when we fell from grace by eating from the fruit. Hi, Jim. Eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So by putting on the lavender, I'm going to say lavender, keep it easy, on our big toe, again, lavender and purple. I mean, if anybody's just looked at fields of lavender, it's like, yeah. So everyone, if you can get a sense of, all right, sleep is all about, well, what I call sleep is Sabbath, where we stop working on it. If you can all get that, the sleep is the Sabbath, where we stop working and we rest. And how many of us have been, gotta, have to, gotta, need, I need more, gotta, have to. So when he told you that, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, what a great thing to tell somebody, is put lavender on. First, it's purple, as far as the plant. Second of all, it's, lavender is a form of purple. And it's higher brain function, which is the purpose of sleep, is to stop working on getting, having, doing something. And instead of have, do, be, it's be, and then do and have. So when you said that, I'm sitting there going, man, this is really important. Everybody, lock on and going, all right, sleep. If I have a challenge with sleep, I've been in fight or flight. So if I've been in fight or flight, my job is to rest. And how do I rest? I trust. And how do I trust? Now that I trust, what's new and different for me? Higher brain function. We go from sympathetic nervous system, gotta, have to, into parasympathetic, higher brain creativity. So imagination is essential at the moment we begin to rest, getting ready for sleep, imagining now that we're thriving, now that we're healthy, now that we're abundant, now that we're supplied, now that our family is awesome. Now that, and again, to me, oils, and I'm going to talk about this for a minute, oils, a negative thought spins counterclockwise. And a pure seed to seal essential oil makes that oil do a hydrogen flip, is what I learned when I was 20-some years old from my mentor, Marian Jager. And my little story on that, I wrote it up from her material, is on Vonn's website. In fact, that's where I went and found it again, because I didn't have a copy of it, and I found it on your website. It was awesome, Vonn. So what I'm inviting you all to realize is, wow, that just alone, putting the true lavender on our big toe with the thought of not waiting for the lavender to fix us, agree, I'm at ease, I'm resting, I trust I already have everything I require. My family already has everything. Imagine doing that, like now that my family's happy, now that our world is thriving, now that we have health everywhere on every nation. Imagine, put that to work, and then let your subconscious work with that all night long, period.
So when that happened for me, and of course, every time I was in Pocatello, I came back to Utah and would share the information with Gary and Mary. Gary then started teaching about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic with oils. And there is a book. I'm up in Colorado right now, so I don't have access to my library. But there is a book that was written in Australia just on the parasympathetic and sympathetic in aromatherapy. And I shared with Gary about this book. He got it. He started teaching about it. And Dr. Jan Zirin, who is now a professor at the UCLA in Knoxville, she's an OD doctor, was actually teaching and using those oils, because she found that when most people came in, if she could just balance out their parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, it was profound. And guess what? Oils were one of the greatest ways to do that. It was so simple with just breathing in an oil or putting an oil on the bottom of your feet to bring back that balance to the body. So I can get that book, but I can't get that now. So we'll follow that up in a future class, okay? Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay, okay, Cherie, how are we? We doing good? Hey, is everybody loving this? I mean, are we good? Are we on track? Are you learning something? Thumbs up. Are you enjoying what we're doing? Okay, good. Because we definitely want to add value. That's what this is all about for us. And it's really about moving the needle to talk about some of these products. Gosh, I get emotional when I say this. It's like I've gone to seminars my whole life and I've heard people talk about products and I've gone home and never thought that I needed to take them. So tonight is an opportunity for Bob and Cherie and Kortni and I to share with you our stories and what Gary's passed on to us and what we've learned in the course of all this with Young Living to show you why you need to play with these products. It's like Mary and Gary, when I joined Young Living, there was no literature. Mary Young created the first trifold literature we ever had. There was no literature at all. And Gary said to me, the greatest gift I can give you, Vonn, is just to play with the products. Find out what's going to work for you. Find out what's going to work for Kortni. If this doesn't work, then don't use it again. Use another one, you know? And Gary actually taught me this. He said, if you take your full case of oils or a lot of oils and you close your eyes and you go into that place, and like for me, I believe in God. And I know that Gary and Mary believe in God. And I love the fact that in this company, we can talk about God. So that's not something that a lot of companies talk about. But Gary said, for him, he would put his hand over the case, close his eyes, and he'd just ask God, what's the right oil for that person? And he'd put his hand over the case. And Gary said it was within the first to 3 oils, he would have that oil. And he said, give that oil to the person or put it on the bottom of their feet. And if they have a reaction, then you know it's the right oil. Well, I go, Gary, what's a reaction? Well, one day I did this and a woman sneezed. Well, little did I know in body language, sneeze was the body saying yes. I mean, it's fascinating how the body always talks to us, right, Bob? So the body always tells you what you need. And sometimes the reaction that you get may not be what you're looking for, but yet it's a reaction, which means the body is responding. Gary also taught me that if I go to an oil, within a minute, I'll know if it's the right oil or not, just in the sense of the body. So Cherie, did Gary teach you any of that with that? Those are 2 things he personally taught me to do.
Yeah, Gary taught me a lot. And one of the things that I really respected about Gary is because of my multiple health adventures, I spent a lot of time at that clinic, which when we had our Zoom with Peter Minke, all found out just one piece of it. And so I got to see the science in action that every single time backed up what Gary said. Even though sometimes Gary would go into the science, sometimes not. But whatever he said, with all my blood work, with all my labs, because I had constant blood work being done, sent away, blood work being done, in addition to the live and dry cell analysis, just lots of blood labs, it always backed up what Gary said. And so that was the fascinating part. And I've got so many stories about, there's 2 oils that we can't get anymore. And when I've done work with, when we've had classes, and for example, I'll just share 2 things, Vietnam vets. Whenever we've had classes, this was in the early 2000s, and we'd have some Vietnam veterans in the room. This was way before there was such a thing as PTSD and any of that. It just didn't, there was not that. And every single time I just had them come up and do exactly what you said. Just don't look at any, and I didn't have the labels on top of the bottles. I said, I just want you to go in and pick an oil that you feel drawn to. Every single time I had a few Vietnam vets in the class, they picked up one oil. Every one of them picked up an oil, Canadian red cedar, without exception, every single time. And I didn't even know they were Vietnam vets. I found out this after. Also, whenever I'd work with what would now be called children on the spectrum, and most of them were boys, and we would just, we'd be together, we'd be with their parents, whatever. Eventually, and I'd sit down on the floor with my big oil kit open, every single one of them, when I'd pull out my favorite oil, I go, this is my favorite bottle. What's your favorite bottle? Every single one of them pulled out spikenard without exception. Every single one. Now they were flat in the foam. You can't see them, just little white lids on top. This is remarkable. So what Gary said, I'm spot on with you, 100% tracking. Yes.
And remember, Gary also taught us that in the big picture of life, when you don't know what oil to use, when you're really in that place of not knowing, the one oil to always go to is frankincense. Mm-hmm. Gary always taught us the one that in the whole world of aromatherapy, the one oil when in doubt, go to frankincense. So Bob, you want to share anything before we go on to another oil or another supplement? Okay, because Cherie, one of the products I'd love to talk about is Emu Pro.
Yeah, I want to finish cortisol though.
Okay, go to cortisol.
Because we got to finish this endocrine system and then we'll go to Emu Pro.
Okay.
So, and I know that Peter said, I wish we had men's back. Well, they changed the formula, Peter, so it's not men's and women's anymore. It's cortisol, so men can take it too. And that the formula has been adjusted so that it's cortisol. Now, one of the things for me in the clinic, when I had my blood drawn, because of the multiple autoimmune diagnoses I was given, I had cortisol levels off the charts. And so I was part of the testing of cortisol. And we noticed a marked improvement. And one of the things, when you talk about that beautiful sleep circadian rhythm, I'm going to share two things. One, the thymus gland, okay, which is under the sternum, right here, under the sternum, the thymus gland, okay? That gland is also responsible for the strength of our immunity and the harmony within our immunity. So this one here, having those multiple autoimmune diagnoses, clearly I had some imbalances there. So Gary taught me put present time on the sternum area. And that absolutely helped my whole endocrine and immune system be in harmony, start communicating properly to each other and shift. And that also helps with that circadian rhythm, Vonn, of helping us get in the flow, getting in that harmonious flow. So present time on the thymus gland, and just rub it clockwise. As Dr. Bob Stevens said, you want it to rub clockwise. So that's the one thing. The other thing is the cortisol. If you find yourself waking up somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning, that is a really good clue that your whole endocrine system, specifically your adrenals, are completely not understanding the body's healthy communication. It's just that simple. And so what needs to happen is they need a reset. Just like your computer needs a reset, they need a reset. They need a step back, a pause, and then, okay, let's move forward in a way that balances us, that doesn't cause erraticness. And so if you find yourself, again, waking up between 2 and 4 in the morning, cortisol. For me, my ideal is 3 at bedtime, 3. For a couple days, I can go to 2, but then I find that I shift back to 3. Now, if Janet's on, I don't know if Janet's on or not. I know she has a really tough internet where she's at, because she's actually in Arizona right now. When Janet's husband had a severe heart attack with open heart surgery, emergency, multiple horrific cascading effect, organs shutting down, not sure if he was going to live or not. She literally was on 12 to 16 cortisol a day that her physician, oh, there she is. Hi, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Hi, honey. But, and so if you can type in the chat, hon, because you're in that slow motion mood again. Looks like you just came in from the pool, woman.
I did.
And so it took that much to help her body stay in a harmonious rhythm. And her doctor actually told her that's what she needed. Am I speaking truth here, honey?
Yeah. It wasn't forever. It was for a short period of time, but it was a very stressful time for me. And so, because I questioned, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to take that many. And they're like, yeah, you do. For right now, that is what your body needs.
And so again, what is on the label is suggested. It may or may not be what you need at what's going on in your life. So that's the cortisol, okay? Men and women. And yeah, we've had, I know a holistic physician that I personally know very well has even said, like preteens can take it as needed again for the period of time if they're going through extreme stress. So those are things that you've got to work out within your own family, within your own bodies. So now let's shift to, and we all know, go ahead, Vonn.
Hold on, I just want to say, Bob Stevens and I got into a conversation earlier today and you triggered it. So we talked about, Gary taught us that before we put an oil on our body, that we need to put the oil and then take it in our hand and activate it. So that we move that oil 3 times round clockwise to activate that oil before putting it on our body. And I love the fact that everything Gary taught was always in threes. There was just a magical number of 3 all the time through. And Robert or Bob, you wanted to talk about something to activation with the oils in your studies that you picked up that we shared today.
Well, first of all, I got so many things going on. I'm sitting here going, just be quiet, just be quiet. So I'm going to talk about the waking up around between 2 and 4. In addition to what you said, I'm just choosing to have this in. For me and my system, and I'm going to remain compliant here to the best of my ability. That's a vote my victory. A paraphree is, and I'm going to say it, is seeing things in 2 different directions. So if you can imagine, you know, like a good and bad, right and wrong, or yes and no, or whatever. So if we wake up, any of my people that wake up at 3 and cannot go back to sleep, I have them do paraphree, and boom, including me. I mean, if I wake up and I got anything going on, walk over, pop a few paraphree, asleep for the rest of the night. So I'm sharing that. Yeah. Next, I mean, it's just the deal, and I'm going to speak about it in that particular way. Next, we're waking up. So I'm going to add one or two more things in. Smell the oils. Don't just use the oils. The olfactory, the smell, has no filter. It's the only of all of our systems in the body that has 0 filter. So like if I have, you know, doubt or fear or genetic patterns or all that other stuff, my body can filter all that except for olfactory or smell. So if everybody can really get, oh, you mean to say that if I'll actually smell and go into and feel and smell, like eyesight is actually feeling with our optic nerve. Smelling is actually feeling with our smeller, I'll put it that way. Hearing is actually feeling with our inner ear. It's feeling, it's all feeling. So smell is a form of feeling the frequency and physiological without a filter. Why? Because if we go to sleep at night and there's a fire, cancel, clear, we're going to wake up going, oh, save your life. Okay, so we're wired to be able to smell this. So many people, like I've used a lot of supplements, tinctures, oils for 50 years. And many people just try to get it down. I'm going, oh, don't just get it down. Like actually experience it. Like if anybody's ever tasted coptis, it's a Chinese herb. And it's very bitter. But if somebody will just let that sit in your mouth, you'll never have a sugar craving again for the rest of that day. Because it'll go, no, not ever again. Anyway, so the point is, for me, the idea is there's counterclockwise, and Jeff Ostler's the one that told me there's proof of this, and I've asked Vonn at some point to ask him where it is. My mentor, Marion Jager, taught me that when I was 27 years old, 21, 22, that a negative thought pattern, limitation, anything less than I am, anything less than love, has a negative or counterclockwise spin to it. The oils, please everybody just explore this. It may be true, I'll put it that way. I'm inviting you to this. The oil, so a negative thought form of I can't or I'm afraid or whatever, it spins counterclockwise, generally. And what the oil does is the oil is grace. Essential oils, pure essential oils are grace. Please get that. There's sunlight in a particular frequency. And then Gary's put these blends together, which are like cosmic. That's all I can say, because they're way bigger than each personality of each herb. So if we use an essential oil and we smell it and experience it all the ways we do, it will take the counterclockwise spin, and I'll just see if I can show you this. And even though my hand's going the same way, I'm just changing the way I'm spinning, it does a hydrogen flip. It actually takes raging fear and it turns into massive courage. And if we will agree with that, if we will just simply go, well, I'm feeling stressed out, so I'm going to do this particular oil. Wait a minute. If you have fear, it's coming up because courage is pushing it up. If you have grief, it's coming up because joy is pushing it up. So if everybody can get, oh, this is the movement. Our greatest weakness shall be our greatest strength. Scripture, let the weak man say, I am strong. So start to add decrees, affirmations, agreement of, I'm stressed out. I can't sleep. Sleep is my Sabbath. Sabbath is me trusting my Creator already supplied me. Oh, then how many like the idea of going, now that I'm fully supplied, what's new and different? And as we use oils, remember the oils are a personality, and they're designed to restore, not to heal what's wrong, to restore something, to bring life back in. So I'm inviting everyone to go, oh, like add a whole new level of participation in your experience of life and spirit, I'm going to put it that way, in the personality of the herb or complex of herbs, plants, whatever they are, and find out, oh, what's returning here. That's what I have to say about that.
So Bob, I wanted to share with you, I did do a little research, and Dr. Stewart, David Stewart, in September, October, on his newsletter in 2004, wrote a whole article on the science of why the clockwise circles. So what I will do is I'll send this over to Kortni, and she can put it on my blog on my website, which is marcellavonharting.com, and she'll have that on within the next 24 hours tomorrow. So if anyone would like the science of why we actually do that 3 times, I've got that information on it. So that will be on my website tomorrow. Okay?
Awesome.
Great.
And Bob, when we talk about the oils, when we get to that point, I have got scientific research that completely backs up and validates everything you just said. Bam, bam. So good, so good.
Okay, so where were we?
So we were on.
So hang on. So did we finish up the endocrine system? Because again, Endoflex is also another great oil that's going to support the
Endocrine system. Yep.
So
yeah, huge. It's a huge one. So Endoflex is the oil. You can do the Vitality if you're in the US, if you're in Europe or Canada's Plus or other around the countries. I put it on the thyroid every day. I put it on my adrenals every day. Again, you heard under the big toe is a very important piece. You've got a number of places you can put it. So that is an oil. So now you wanted to go to.
I want to talk about Emu Pro tonight. And,
yeah, that's where I was headed. Emu Pro.
And I think Dallas is on too. So I'd like him to share also if he would unmute himself. And because Emu Pro has become a very favorite product for when I'm traveling. And it's not a product that I take every day, but I know that Mark Schroeder, who's now has a different name.
Mark went back to, Mark promised his dad before he died that he would go back to his his original name, not the name his mom gave him after she got married. So his name was his birth name, Marco Gentile. That is his birth name. That's who he is. Yeah.
So when I knew him, when he developed this, it was Mark Schroeder, and he helped Gary develop this product. And it's a tasty tablet that boosts melatonin and lymphocyte immune cells. It's designed for people who have difficulty sleeping, shortening sleep cycles, low immunity, and it's just a phenomenal product to support us with melatonin. Now, personally, I don't take melatonin all the time because if I'm eating correctly and I'm shutting off the light, my body is producing melatonin, okay? But I find that when I travel a lot, and like especially going over to Europe or to Asia, I find that when you're on an airplane, the reason why we actually suffer from jet lag is because the lights are on the plane all the time. They never turn the lights off. If you turn the lights off, your body would produce melatonin. So this is an interesting thing to think about. When you're on an airplane and you're traveling at night, you should almost wear a hoodie with full coverage. You know why? Because if your skin is exposed to light, it will shut the melatonin off and you won't produce melatonin in the body. That's why we suffer from jet lag. So when I travel, what we do is I take this product over. And Mark shared with me that he would just chew 2 of them at night and he would sleep really wonderful. So I wanted to see if Dallas would share anything about that from us traveling together. Dallas, will you come on, unmute yourself and share us how we've used that product when we've been traveling?
Well, I mean, just like you said, Emu Pro, you chew it right before you go to bed. It pretty much does the job. That and lavender, those are the 2 that we would do quite a bit when we travel, and that would really do it. It was simple. Sometimes I think some of the simplest things work the best. And when we get on an airplane, especially for the long flights over to Europe, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13 hours. I put, as soon as we have the meal, I put lavender on the bottom of my feet, and that would just set me out on the plane, which would be really relaxed. And then when we get there, that first night was really important. So Emu Pro is amazing. They did reformulate Emu Pro. Maybe Cherie can tell us more about that, but it's a chewable. And that is a supplement that I've been using for a very long time for sleep, and it's been fantastic.
And Dallas, what is the one thing that we found that when we traveled and we taught, that we kind of did a ritual? Would you like to share that we found that was a good way to close off all the energy fields and conversations from everybody in the day, that we found that if you could take a bath at night or take a shower at night after you taught? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. Cutting cords physically, emotionally, spiritually was really important. So, cleansing yourself by taking a shower or a bath was really important. So when we would get in, many times, we'd get into the hotel and shower. I'd oil up after that, and then, go to bed for that night. That was really, really important to clean. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I just find that sometimes when we have talked to a lot of people, we've experienced a lot of stress, we've gone into fight or flight, we've been exposed to everything else, that sometimes we need to really find a way to nurture and take care of ourselves. And I believe that aromatherapy is one of the greatest things. It's Mother Nature in a bottle. It's one of the greatest things of us nurturing ourselves, and to find a way to incorporate Young Living's products and the oils into a way to nurture yourself. So when we would teach in front of hundreds of people all through the day, to find a way to just, stop everything in the head and everything, I found that taking a shower at night, and I would just imaginary cutting all the cords of conversations that I've had and everything that I've done with people, that then I could just go to sleep with peace. And Bob, do you want to share something about that too? We had that conversation also today.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. So for me, a couple of ways that I know if I'm still carrying something from a coaching session or class or interaction is if I think about that person. And so, I mean, even if I'm wondering, I go, oop, I'm still hooked up. So what I do, first I use oils a lot. So, in every class I hand out peppermint to everybody. We go around and do, lick it, have fun anyway. So that's kind of one of the things I do in class. I keep everybody lubed up with good peppermint. And then for me, if I interact with somebody and if I had forgotten to cut myself free, and I'll share how I do it, if I go, I wonder if they start to interact with what I call their personality or my personality, doesn't matter. I imagine, this is my particular way, is I imagine a big, huge Archangel Michael blazing blue flame sword, and I go around them in my imagination with this big sword, and I go above, below, and I cut them back to their I am self. And I do the same for myself, and I literally won't think about them again, ever. And again, meaning in a good way, I will even forget that I had a session with them the day before, because that was between them and God. That's my job, is to help them out. So all of you that have been hooked up, whatever you require to clean your clock or cut those in the Huna Kahuna, that'd be called Aka threads. I like to call them icky threads. My invitation is that you cut yourself free and cut them back to their creator, cut yourself back to your creator, and be sovereign. See yourself in a bubble or tube of light. And another thing is what I've learned, the way not to pick up human creation or stuff from people is to remain a positive charge. And the way I do it is, I am your victory in the light. I'm your victory in the light. I'm your permanent victory in the light. I'm your permanent victory in the light. And I know that anyone that I got on or health challenge, I didn't vote their victory. So I can immediately reverse that and start voting victory and seeing perfection, and use every possible oil on the planet. And I always use strong ones. That's my particular, when I'm dealing with personalities, I like to use a nice strong oil. I'm going to add one more thing for Cherie. Cinnamon in the system that I came from was ego, and it was one of the oils for ego. And it's been said that all the angels and all the great ones have a particular frequency. So when cinnamon is a charge for someone, usually what that means is they're a transformer of ego. So one of the ways that I have learned that particular thing is I speed up and see only purity in all life everywhere. Period. That's what I got.
Thank you.
They're seeing you through your toes.
Thank you. I see only purity in all life everywhere. Thank you. Thank you. Fabulous. Okay,
I
go
have
ahead.
some. So
Kortni, no.
I use the Emu Pro on both of my kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, as you hear him screaming right now. But when they come home from school or anything and they got that little bit of runny nose going on, I'm like, okay, Emu Pro tonight. And what I do is with Duke, since he's always been a little bit older, I would cut it in half, and I said, you just have to chew it. And he's really good, and he would just chew it. Ellie, I'd cut her a quarter of one, and I would put that in her food. So I'd break it up, and then what I loved about it is that they would have that runny nose, or they were just tired. You could tell they were coming down with something. And then in the morning, they would sleep all night. And then in the morning, they would be bouncing, and they'd wake up really early, and you would never know they were coming down with anything. So that is one of my little secret weapons that I always use.
So Kortni, can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so when Bob said exactly what he said, he goes, Gary's blends are a cosmic symphony of, I forgot all your words, but that the supplements, it's not just the oils, the supplements. And Emu Pro is an exact example of that. Because of the polysaccharides, the complex polysaccharide complex that's in there from the wolfberry, because of the reishi mushrooms, because of the oils, and then of course you have the melatonin. Now that doesn't cause me to sleep. Emu Pro does not cause me to sleep. Again, I was one of the early people who tested it out because as you may or may not know, I was diagnosed with an extremely aggressive cancer. Uterine that spread to the breast and the brain, and the cancer markers were growing 5,000 points every 3 hours. And so I tested it because what we found, and it also brought the autoimmune diagnosis of lupus back at just a rage. So I was in a catch-22 there with this body. So what was interesting is the Emu Pro for me was an equalizer. Okay. It literally increased in me what we found in the blood work. It increased in me the proper T cell amount and communication and activity that worked in an extremely positive way that did not cause the autoimmune to become more aggressive, but it did help me with the cancer personally. Again, I'm talking personally, okay? Because I did a lot of things. It's just one of my tools. I want to be very clear about that. It's one of my tools. That what we found was it was what we called a phenomenal equalizer. It brought one thing down, brought the other thing up, and it created a harmony within my immunity. And I literally took 4 chewables during the day, and I took 3 to 4 at bedtime. I was not tired or fatigued at all during the whole time. So again, you may or may not experience that restfulness with Emu Pro. It's completely up to your own body. And this was in July of 2002 for me, okay? So I just wanted to let you know that's why you're experiencing, Kortni, what it works so well. Very good. Okay, so anything else, Vonn, you want to go over on Emu Pro? Because you're like the horse that just keeps jumping in on that Emu Pro.
Well, the one thing that I was going to say that Gary always told me is that the oils have a way of balancing and harmonizing, and they know what needs to be done. And Gary said to me, it's like, I always say, well, how do I explain that to somebody? You know, Gary, that helichrysum can thicken the blood or thin the blood. Like, how do I explain that to somebody? And Gary would always say the oils just have a knowing. They just know what to do. They're the essence of God. They're the essence of the plant. And so I'm just passing on what Gary taught me, you know, and I think that we live in a world with quantum physics today that will be able to prove all of this. You know, like I'll find a way to prove it in my language of how what he said to me was true. Would you say that's true, Bob?
For me, all herbs, all my study of herbs, all these years have always been whatever herb it goes in, and it does exactly what's necessary. It's not irrational. It's going to raise or lower or increase or diminish. It just brings health, which whatever is required, it does that. That's the beauty of nature. So yes. Yeah. And other than that, it always does that. If it's pure, if it's pure, if it's pure, if it's pure. I'm saying that for everybody, just please. I had all the essential oils back in the 70s, And I had my own company, worked at the A.M. Todd Company in college in the 60s. And so I started my own essential oil company, and I got out of it after a little bit of time because no matter if I paid for the best possible, whatever they called pure back then, it was, you know, dark ages and 8-tracks and stuff like that. Some things were pure and some things I literally could taste. If I could taste an oil, I knew it wasn't pure. It's co-natural, synthetic, even though I was paying for the best. So I got out of it. And then Gary, thank God, comes along and helps us figure out how to use this. So more than anything else is the purity that Gary, I'm going to go right to Gary, that Gary brought to us on how do we make sure that this is the highest frequency. And I look at high, oh, it's not toxic. No, that's not the way I like to approach it. That may be true. The purpose for me about why Young Living is so important and Gary Young is so important to me is that he sustained the purity of spirit, God, life, nature in the oil so it could restore quickly the energy signature it was meant to have. So please, everyone, when you're with an oil, it's not just, oh yeah, this is for that. Oh, this is bigger than, and I believe this is where compliance gets to melt, this is restoring, this is a blessing. This is a strong blessing. And everyone, if we can realize, oh, I'm getting rid of XYZ. No, you're restoring some great thing. You're bringing light and ease to what we're doing. And Vonn, when you talked about light, I believe when we turn on our inner light, which is what essential oils do for me in health and consciousness and decree and prayer and affirmation, then the outer light doesn't affect us negatively because our inner light is strong. But when we rely on outer light instead of our inner light, then that's when it becomes a challenge for sleep and all the other stuff. So.
Yes, I agree with you. And also, Bob, in psychology, you know, it comes down to two things. We're either pushing away from something or we're going towards something. And I'm going to share with you in your life, if you think about it, is a very big different feeling in moving towards something that's pleasurable than pushing away from something that is fearful. So the more in our life that we go towards things to restore, I believe, is the homeostasis and the balance back of life. So, and I think that's what Gary gave us. That's what Gary gave us with Young Living essential oils and the infused oil supplements, is a way to restore and stay above and thrive above the line, above ground. And that's what it's really coming down to in a world when things are so chaotic around us, for us to find our own balance and for us to find our own foundation above the line. And just even if you don't do anything else but just smell an oil, or like for me right now, I think one of the greatest oils that Young Living has today for every day of your life in the chaotic world today is Valor. And I say that because Gary gave us that oil to transmit fear. And people are living in a world of fear right now. And Gary created that oil to transmute fear and to give us courage to walk forward and to have our place on this planet. So I get very passionate about some of these blends that Gary gave us and what he named them. And just to think of having Valor in your life today to move forward. So, okay, Cherie.
So Bob, I'm going to adjunct what you said about purity, because I too have been using oils professionally since 1975, the dark ages, the 8-tracks, as you called it. And in addition to purity, it is complexity. And here's what I mean by that. There are many oils that say they're pure, but because they are not grown, harvested, and distilled to maintain every molecule that plant has to offer, that oil may be pure, but I can guarantee you it's probably missing molecules. And that's where, when I'm going to come full circle here with Vonn, when she said, how can helichrysum be the hemostat? How can helichrysum thicken the blood and thin the blood at the same time? How is that possible? Well, it's chemistry. And it has to do with growing, harvesting, and distilling properly so that we have every molecule that plant has to offer. And I can tell you, okay, there is no essential oil company. I have traveled the world, just like Bob and Vonn, looking at other oils, other distilleries, other fields, you name it. There is not one company that does and goes to the lengths that Gary put in motion for us, that has as many and every molecule that's possible for that plant to capture in every single bottle. So in addition to purity, you have to have the complexity present of every molecule that the plant has to offer. So even though a bottle will say pure, I can guarantee you, unless it's Young Living, it's going to be missing molecules. And then it will fall short on what that plant's destiny is for us. So that's a huge
Cherie, can I just jump in real quick?
Please.
And what I meant by pure is love.
Got it.
Yeah, and Gary demanded, he brought, if anybody ever saw him in a field of lavender, let's say, and talked about it, or when he was distilling, or, you know, the little bit of time I've had with him, that man brought love to it. He brought, you know, a rancher, a farmer, a pioneer, a frontiersman, but he brought such love that that's what is continuing on to this day. So that's what I mean by pure. Okay,
Bob, so I'm gonna support you in this. Here we go. So at the farm, when we were at Harvest in the early days, before it got as big as what it is now, we'd actually go and just work. And then at night, very late, Gary would teach us. And there's maybe less than 20 of us sitting in St. Mary's. And somebody said, Gary, what, you know, like he wanted to talk about, I can't remember the exact question, what makes Young Living so special? Or, you know, why did you do network marketing with it? And that whole concept. And Gary said, well, we have a secret, we have a secret weapon or a secret bullet in our oils. And people were like, what? And Gary got that look and his twinkle in his eye, and he stepped back and he kind of cocked his head and he goes, it's you. And he pointed to all the members who were there. He goes, why do you think we want you to come and work in the fields? You each have a personal love, a personal emotional connection to these oils. You know from living it what they can do for us. And when you come and you work in the fields, you bring that love, you bring that energy, you bring that conscious thought and that conscious emotion into the fields. And that goes into the DNA of the plant. And because we hold back the best for our heirloom seeds, and we continue to recycle that and recycle it, he goes, that is the magic in Young Living essential oils. Right there.
Well, we could talk about CBD because we have a whole new farm. Are we ready to go into CBD?
Yep, and then I've got a whole pile of stuff about oils. So yes, let's go.
Yes.
Rock.
Okay. So the interesting thing about CBD is we have these receptor sites all over our body, and they're looking at now, we have over 100. And they're actually saying that CBD has actually been in the air. I mean, bees are carrying it all over. And it's such a natural thing for the receptor sites. And we go back to the book by Candace Pert with Biology, not Biology Belief, that's Bruce Lipton. Candace Pert's book was Candace Pert's book. I keep thinking that is Biology of Belief, but
no.
Molecules of Emotion, yes. And how we have these receptor sites. Well, we're finding that we have these receptor sites all over our body. So again, the thing that we're going to say about the CBD has been touted as being phenomenal for sleep, for occasional anxiety, for lots of different things. But I'm going to share with you again, just like Cherie and I have been talking, and Bob too, again, you have to take responsibility for your body. Again, what might create sleepiness for someone may not create sleepiness for another person. So again, you have to literally test these things with yourself, play with them, see how you respond to them. But Young Living's got the CBD products, and we've got a whole line of them. And we've got a roll-on called Calmness that people have been actually rolling that CBD product on their big toe again, Bob, you know, reactivating the pineal, the brain centers, and kind of closing down the brain a little bit to quiet the mind and create a state of relaxation. So the CBD has been quite profound for sleep, and there's all kinds of tests. It's opening up in all the states and making it available to people all over the world now, and it's been a phenomenal product. Cherie, have you used the CBD for sleep? I've not used it for sleep. I used CBD when I had my knee surgery. So I used it for pain, but I got to be honest with you. I sleep really well in life and I eat really well in life. Those are the two things that I have down. Like I've got this down pat. So I have not been, other than the lavender on the bottom of my toes, you know, to balance out my parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, I don't really use anything to sleep. I've not needed that other than traveling with a little bit of jet lag with the Emu Pro. So those have been my favorite products.
So for me personally, I have a body that CBD is neutral on. For me, it does not have an effect. And so I can't speak personally about CBD, but I do know that a number of people are asking about the pet CBD. And I would suggest that you go to Dr. Susan Albright's Facebook page. She is actively practicing many hours a day veterinarian, and she is using with great results this the Nature's Ultra Young Living CBD. And she'll use the citrus, she'll use, depending upon what's going on with the animals. So I'm going to refer you to Dr. Susan Albright. She has a phenomenal Facebook page. She does a lot of teaching, a lot of training, and great results. She's a phenomenal veterinarian. She just pushes back the boundaries of all the false information about essential oils and animals. And she was one of the contributing editors of the Essential Oils and Animals Desk Reference from LSP, and as well as many others. And she's part of, and also Nancy's on there, and a number of others. So y'all, we have phenomenal veterinarians that are literally proving through science, through research. There's a lot of false information on the internet about essential oils and CBD and animals. I would go to the professionals and get the straight talk.
Yeah, I know Nancy Brandt, Dr. Nancy Brandt in Vegas also uses the peppermint for the animals, and she's having great results with it. And guess what? When we see great results with our animals, we see great results with a lot of people too. And Dr. Ollie has been such a face for Young Living for the CBD products. So people have asked, I see that in the chat, they want to know why you can't take it internally, and that has to do with labeling laws right now. So
and the stevia that's in the CBD has no problem for dogs or animals. I know a lot of people have a concern. It's more the xylitol that you want to be concerned about, and there's no xylitol. Dr. Susan Albright has done extensive studying on stevia with animals, and she has found absolutely to have zero adverse effects. So there you go.
So another thing that I said that in coming about this, talking about sleep, sometimes before you go to bed, start to turn down the lights in your home prior to start making things a little bit darker, because that's starting to set up that time for sleep. So that's going to be real important too, to sleep in total darkness and to start dimming the lights an hour or so before you go to bed at night, and get your room cool down. Those things are going to be real important. Now there's lots of essential oils that can be phenomenal for sleep. And if you were to go to Instagram or Pinterest or something, just the formulas of it. But I will tell you, one of my favorite has been lavender and cedarwood. With I use 4 drops of lavender, 4 drops of cedarwood, and 1 drop of vetiver. And that has been wonderful for dreams for me. And of course, so that's one of my favorite oils to use.
Well, that makes sense.
The chamomile, sweet orange, and lavender is another great blend for helping sleep too. So, so Cherie, you want to talk a little bit more about the oils?
Yes. So I want to makes total sense on your first fun recipe, because you got 2 out of the 3 of the highest sesquiterpene molecules. Okay, your vetiver and your cedarwood are over 99% sesquiterpene, which they're oxygenating. So of course that's going to wake up your dream center. So cool, so cool. Then the lavender will help to balance and harmonize that sympathetic parasympathetic where you're in overdrive to help downshift into neutral. So that makes perfect sense. Sorry, y'all, the green is coming out in Cherie because I'm one of those people who I have to understand why this works. That's just me. I'll believe it, but I got to then go and do my own. Why does this stuff work the way it does? Okay, so that's yours truly. So I want to talk a little bit about release oil, okay? So, and that is to say you can't go in and have that evening cleansing shower or that evening cleansing bath. It's just not possible. Release oil is absolutely amazing. Wherever you're feeling a tightness, a tension, a hook, a catch, like a rigidity, just put release oil on it. And then do the visualization that Dr. Bob Stevens, just do that and just get that on. And literally you will notice a wonderful shift, wonderful, wonderful shift. So that's release. Now, we also talked a lot about Valor already. Valor under the big toe is really helpful as well, anywhere along the spine to really help. So this is what I say about Valor. Has anyone, whoever was raised, I was raised in a house that was built in 1919, okay? And my grandparents' house, where I spent an enormous amount of time, did not even have electricity until my dad was 18 and he put electricity in my grandparents' house. So literally that's how we had fuses. We have a circuit breaker. So growing up in a house that had fuses, what would happen if you had the clothes dryer, the toaster, and you decided to put a hairdryer on or iron some clothes all at the same time? Pop, you would pop, and then that whole circuit would not have electricity. Well, our body has meridians that are very much like that. We are very electric. And so what Valor does is Valor's like going in and changing the fuses or resetting the circuit breakers so that your whole body electrically is back functioning. Not one meridian is carrying the load of the other electrically or energetically. So everything is in harmony, communicating properly. That's one of the reasons it helps us to then downshift into really nice sleep. So that would be Valor. We already talked about cedarwood being really powerful because, again, it helps to, there's many things cedarwood does, but it helps to quiet because of the high oxygenation. It helps to quiet that over-anxious, over-ramping brain. And then Valerian is another really, really nice one. And I'm going to save a few of these because I've got the stats. I'm going to share with you some pretty powerful stats. Valerian is a really good one. I want you to think about Valium. Do you know where Valium came from? Valerian plants, Valerian root to be exact. Only it's got a whole lot of nasty side effects that come with it. So Valerian is another one that some people find very effective in just helping calm, just calm. And then, of course, you've got peace and calming and stress away. So I'm going to share why peace and calming and stress away are so helpful with some of the research. Now, these studies have been done anywhere from 2002 through 2017. Multiple studies on what Dr. Bob started talking about was scent. And Vonn, smell our oils, smell them. Every single one of these studies was inhalation, not topical application, not ingestion, simply inhalation. So the top 7 oils that were tested found to be the most effective for calming the brain: lavender, vanilla, rose, geranium. And they're not in order of 1 through 7. They're all like equal in multiple studies in Taiwan and Australia, Europe, and the United States. So lavender, vanilla, rose, geranium, jasmine, sandalwood, and then your citrus oils, which Vonn already mentioned in Sleep Essence. There's mandarin, okay? Bergamot is another one. The orange she just mentioned again in her second recipe. The orange, okay? And then this is what else was found. Lemon, diffusing and inhaling lemon oil during the day induced more restful, quiet, positive thinking and quiet thoughts and quieting the brain at night. Diffusing lemon during the day. Okay, so those are just some, and then I've got some fun stories. I want to do a very ending with blue cypress and rutavala at the very end when everybody's done, because I've got a great Gary story that y'all are going to leave like laughing and having a blast. So here we go. So I want to talk now just very briefly. This is some of the stats. Lavender, chamomile, and sandalwood. Now this was a study in both Australia and Thailand. decrease alpha-1 brainwave patterns, so it slows the activity in the parietal and post-anterior temporal regions of the brain. In other words, your busy brain quieted it down. And it increased theta brainwave patterns, which is that deep, restful sleep. Okay, lavender, chamomile, sandalwood, individually. Imagine if you had a combination. Now, the other one that I want to talk about is jasmine. Jasmine is huge. And there were studies done in Europe about jasmine. Now, here's, as with lavender, too much will push you the other direction, okay? This is what was found. Jasmine oil increases beta wave activity immediately upon inhalation, immediately. So what happens then is, as Dr. Bob said, this is the part that I got like jumpy, all excited about, because this proves the science to what he just said, what scripture says about it literally, you know, our weakness shall be our strength, or vice versa. Because what happens is that strength then pushes up and out the weakness. That's why we're feeling it, because the strength is emerging from within to push up and help us transform. This is what it literally, this is what jasmine does. Jasmine has been proven in multiple studies with EEG, electroencephalogram, and other brainwave pattern studies to provide an immediate, upon inhalation, shift to positive emotions, positive thoughts, positive feelings, and more positive brainwave structure presenting itself immediately upon inhalation. Even people who were in the depths of despair, when they inhaled jasmine oil, it literally pushed these positive thoughts, pushed their way up through these what would be called painful thoughts or distressing thoughts. Pretty cool, huh? That's why I was jumping around in my seat, Bob. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Okay, so cool. I'm almost done, and then y'all can talk, because I want to end with these really two fun stories. Okay, so what's lavender in? Y'all know how much lavender is in Stress Away? I mean, excuse me, there's lavender in Stress Away. There's a lot of vanilla in Stress Away, a lot. And by the way, it's vanilla essential oil. I don't know if you know this. Young Living is the only company that has the therapeutic vanilla essential oil. Mark actually created the distillation process and patented it for Young Living to retain the therapeutic molecules, not just the fragrance molecules. And Young Living holds the patent. We're the only essential oil company in the world that has therapeutic vanilla essential oil, maintaining the therapeutic molecules, not just the fragrance molecules, which is in every other vanilla oil. So I thought I would throw that in just for fun. And in the 2002 study, literally, this is what was found with jasmine oil as well. It cut down restless sleep, it said, immeasurably, meaning they couldn't measure it. It happened so fast and so consistently. And not only did it cut down restless sleep, but it drastically improved alertness during the day. But again, 1 to 3 drops. Any more than that, and it flipped. Okay, it flipped. So start out with 1 drop in your diffuser. This was all diffused, by the way, not topically applied or ingested, what I'm sharing with you, all inhaled. That's why our diffusers are so, so powerful. Also, sandalwood literally induced immediate physical relaxation upon inhalation. Immediate physical relaxation upon relaxation. And that was a 2010 study in Australia. And then, of course, so there you go. Oh, and here we go. What's that word? Just my head. I wrote so fast. Okay, unwinding. The citrus oils were found in the brain upon inhalation to unwind the stress brainwave patterns of the day. So how do you like that?
Great information, great information. So Bob, do you want to share anything with that?
Just real quick about highest potential. For me, when I first got it, you know, like it smells the matrix of all the different essential oils. But then like a few minutes later, I walk up and I say, now smell my hands, or I have the person smell where they've got it. And it'll be a different oil. And then about the 3rd or 4th one, jasmine comes online. And at that point, the person is like, oh my, that's so cool. Anyway, I thought I'd share that if you'd like the release in the perfect amount of time, highest potential is the one. That's what I had to say about that.
So
Yeah, Mom, I wanted to tell, so about 15 years ago, we were on a cruise, and Kathy Calloway, she's a Crown Diamond, and Jill and Chelsea Young, a lot of you guys know them. I learned from them that they put jasmine in their wine. And it's divine. It is divine. Because I was like, what are you guys drinking? That smells so good. They're like, just a little wine with a little bit of jasmine in it. So that's how they do their jasmine. So.
Well, in the world of aromatherapy, we can find a use for all oils and some fabulous, wonderful way to do that. We've covered a lot of information tonight. I don't know if we've answered everyone's questions, but the truth of it again, you get to play. You get to start to play with the products and see what's going to work. And remember, Gary named the products with the intention of the name. And there's great resources out there. We've got a third-party company that's not affiliated with Young Living, and that's LSP, which has got some great resources that you can go to. And you know, then even just Google and the library.
And Mom, right now they're doing the raindrop, Gary's original raindrop for like $9.99, and you get the book too for $9. That's a special that's going on right now. So it's phenomenal if anybody wants to learn the raindrop technique from Gary.
So you can go back to lsp.com for that information, but we always like to give great resources. Again, LSP is not affiliated with Young Living. That's a third-party company, so we're compliant with sharing with, it's great information out there. And I'm going to let Bob and Cherie say something in closing, but for me in closing, I'd like to say this. It's a little joke. I said, I know someone who was always late until his doctor recommended sleeping in an herb garden. Sounds odd, I know, but now he wakes up on time.
Dun-dun-dun.
Okay, Bob, would you like to share something, and we'll let Cherie.
Yes, and by the way, I'm not a doctor, so I had people privately going, "Oh, that's cool." So I'm not a doctor, just so you know. I'm a guy. Just call me Guy Bob.
Sorry. I always thought you were like Mr. Wizard.
I can be Mr. Wizard. I just didn't learn it from people. You know, I didn't get licensed anyway. And I've learned a lot tonight, Cherie, and Vonn. I've really gotten a lot out of this personally. So thank you all very much. And just a reminder: vote victory, see perfection. Dream is like sleep is for dreaming and resolving and remembering and miracles happening on the inner, so they can out picture in the outer. That's what I have to say.
You are amazing, because you are such a phenomenal lead into me. Okay, y'all, we didn't talk all together before this. Okay, Vonn called me and she goes, how do you feel about, first of all, Kortni texted me and she goes, ready for tonight? And I said, absolutely, grateful, excited. Then a little bit later, Vonn calls me, she goes, and they're not even in the same state, so they don't even know each other did this. And then Vonn calls me, she goes, well, this is what I'm thinking about tonight. How's the flow sound? I said, sounds perfect. That was it. That was our conversation. And do y'all see how when we're all in alignment, how we literally open the door where the next one is going to go and has intention to go? On my pre-written notes that I wrote way ahead of time to make sure that I was complete and thorough for everyone. This is the magic. And I want to say a couple things very quickly. I want to end with a great story. The magic. There's a magic oil that Gary would call, in a tongue-in-cheek, magic oil, and that was blue cypress. Blue cypress is a phenomenal oil. It is an oil that is native to, of course, the Aborigines, the Tiwi tribe, of course, in Northern Australia. It is an oil, now you know that it is they're one of their sacred oils, and you know that the sacred oil of each nation carries the strength of that nation or the magic of that nation. Well, what are the Aborigines known for? They're known for their telepathic communication, as well as many other things. Their ability to have healing happen, their ability to what scripture would call instantaneous miracles. because they lived at that frequency. Blue cypress is an oil that is an amazing oil, that literally is one of the most powerful transformative oils there are. So if you're looking for an oil, it's great for the skin, but I'm going to caution everyone, if over your lifetime you've used a lot of facial care products or skin products that have got a lot of synthetic toxins in, I would not be rubbing it all over your face, because you will have a phenomenal, very poignant detox response that may be uncomfortable. So I would suggest starting slow. But this is one of the most exquisite oils that you can use for every aspect of your beingness. And if you're choosing to live the elevated life, if you're choosing to live that life that Bob speaks of, where we live, move, and have our being in victory for not only ourselves, but for every spirit on this planet, I would start to play with blue cypress oil, because that is the oil that Gary said has the magic in it. So that's blue cypress. And I would like to, and I've got one more quick Gary story that we're going to end with, that hopefully everyone's going to start laughing, because that's our goal. If you ever are with Vonn and I, the one thing you hear us, you can tell we're in the room because our laugh is so dang loud that, that you know we're somewhere in the building. And so my gift from Gary's gift coming through me to you would be this story. But before I say that, yes, and blue cypress, Amy, is exceedingly different than cypress. It is blue cypress, we get it from Australia, so very different. Okay, so I would like to thank, I've been watching the chat. I really would like to thank every single person. I was watching how everyone was supporting each other. Everyone was taking turns, taking the lead, like the geese flying in a V. When there's the front ones and the ones in back are honking because the front ones are bucking the wind. And when the front ones are tired, they fall back. And then the next set, and the geese behind honk to support the front ones. That's what that honking is, supporting. And I'm literally watching every one of you support each other. A lot of you don't even know each other. I know that. And you're supporting each other. I would like you to think about what other occupation, what other workforce, what other workplace. This is a dominant way of being, where you don't even think twice about supporting someone else. This is, again, the magic that we have within living. And this is what Gary wanted to create. He wanted to create a mutually supportive community where there is no competition against, but there is cooperation and collaboration with. And that is what I saw tonight. And I'm humbled and honored to tears. And I thank you from my whole being for being who each one of you are in doing this for each other. Because there is not one of us that has all the answers, quite the opposite. We all learn so much from each other, and we are here to continue to share and continue to ask questions and continue to reach out and to continue to support. And that's what this is about. So you have all been a blessing to all of us tonight. And not only to all of us, but everyone who watches this replay as it circles our globe. I will tell you that you are a blessing. So I cannot thank you all enough for your participation. It is truly, truly a divine gift you have given everyone. So now let's share the good story. It's about Rutavala.
Quickly, Cherie, because I think it's important we stay in time. So.
Yep, I'm rocking it. So here we go. So it's not long, it's short. And so when Rutavala was again being tested and just starting to come out and things like that, I started to get phone calls because, you know, Gary talked about how he used it in Ecuador in the mobile surgical unit for many reasons. He talked about how they use it for physical discomfort and for lots of reasons. How Gary was putting it on his low back every night and how it was helping him because we all know because of his injuries, and he was rubbing it in the bottom of his feet and just that. Well, we were at, I had a number of men that had hip issues or low back issues. So they heard Gary teach that in a big training. So they started using it. And then about 2 to 3 weeks later, I started getting phone calls from our male members. And they're like, Cherie, have any other guys called you and talked to you about what they're experiencing anywhere from 1 to 4 hours after they use this new Rutavala? And I go, well, tell me. Well, let's just say certain anatomical parts would wake up and stand at attention in the male anatomy. And these guys would be calling and telling me this. And I'm like, okay. So I literally started to call some other of our, our members and asked if their husbands or male partners or their guys would be willing. And sure enough, I'd say easily 8 to 9 out of 10 experienced it. So we were in a small training, maybe 50 people with Gary. And it was Jen Springer and Bob Morrow and there was one other guy and myself. And we were just all talking about it and sharing it. And Gary's like right next to us. And Gary looks over at us and he goes, so that's what's doing it. There you go. So there you have a very uplifting Gary story to call it a night.
And with that, we will call it a night. Thank you, everyone. Until
Wait.
next.
Good night, all.
So wait, guys, Bob, Cherie, Marcella will be back next month, same day, same time.
First Thursday of every month.
And by the way, they just sold out of that oil that you just talked about. Just kidding.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.